Hello, we are Nourisync, otherwise known as Teammate. Our theme is physical health and mental well-being management, and we are here to spotlight a crisis that often goes unseen in healthcare, pediatric eating disorder recovery. Before we dive into the problem, we want to introduce the team behind this work. Designing a recovery tool takes more than just technical skills. It takes empathy, research, and lived experience. I'm Kasaira, and I'm joined by Michaela, Shreya, Sean Manuel, Jay, and Jasleen. We also want to thank our mentor, Arzu, whose guidance helped keep our design user-centered, especially when finding features and accessibility, and SureStart and MIT Raise for making this possible. Now that you met the team, let's return to the crisis that brought us here.
Eating disorders are among the deadliest mental health conditions, yet they often remain invisible until it's too late. Eating disorders include conditions like anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder, which impacts both physical and mental health, especially in adolescents. And while hospitalization can help, the real struggle often begins after discharge, when families are left to navigate recovery alone. In fact, 30 million Americans will experience an eating disorder in their lifetime, and 45% of those patients will relapse after being released from the hospital. That's almost half. And the struggle isn't just emotional, it's economic. Eating disorders cost the US over $70.5 billion per year, yet the people carrying the weight of the recovery are often left without proper tools, guidance, or support, my family being one of them. As a sibling of a pediatric anorexia patient, I know how helpless it can feel when a family member suffers from an eating disorder, and I can only imagine how it feels for the patient. But us at Nourisync also know that there are ways to make it feel less helpless for everyone. The ED recovery process relies on trust and constant communication between the patient and their parent or guardian. So my team and I asked, what if we could help with that?
To better understand the problem, we interviewed medical professionals, survivors, and caregivers. We asked what's missing and what matters most. One survivor told us, "We weren't taught how to recover at home. We just hoped we were doing it right." And a parent shared, "I didn't know how to help." The quiet frustration, the fear of doing it wrong or not being enough, revealed a clear, unmet need for clarity, connection, and support.
To expand our insights, we cold called professionals on LinkedIn and surveyed over 50 participants from various age groups and experiences. What we found was striking. 92% said recognizing early signs of relapse is the hardest part, 79% wish for clear guidance of avoiding triggering behavior, and 89% said modern ED recovery is extremely difficult. From these responses, three key stakeholders stood out: adolescents in recovery, guardians guiding that recovery, and doctors trying to support both from afar. Their voices shape the foundation of our solution.
That's where Nourisync comes in. Nourisync is a shared recovery platform designed specifically for adolescents 13 to 18, a group that often falls into a gray area between pediatric and adult care. The platform streamlines outpatient recovery by connecting patients, caregivers, and doctors through a secure dashboard that unifies check-ins, risk assessment, progress tracking, and next steps. Meet Helen, caregivers of 14-year-old Caroline, who's currently recovering from anorexia. When they log into Nourisync, they see a clean dashboard and a current 2-day streak to build consistency and motivation. They start with a daily check-in. Caroline goes first. She privately reflects on how she's feeling, her day, and what she wants her caregiver to know, preserving her voice in the process. Then it's Helen's turn. She adds her observations, whether meals were completed, notable behaviors, any food avoidance, and her own stress level. When submitted, their log appears on the dashboard with a renewed streak. Our AI model analyzes the entry and shows low risk of relapse, a welcome shift after a turbulent week. As just a couple days ago, it flagged high risk, providing tailored guidance, including cited sources. This timely support helped Caroline and Helen take action together and avoid a potential setback or hospitalization. When it's time for an appointment, they click Export Log to share a summary with Caroline's doctor, closing the loop between home and clinical care.
Our backend uses Mistral AI's Mistral 7B large language model to analyze patient journals and caregiver reports, identifying behavior patterns, assessing relapse risk, and providing clinical summaries for doctors and caregivers. To meet our specific needs, we enhanced Mistral 7B by implementing RAG on a curated set of peer-reviewed papers on eating disorders, ensuring that its insights were evidence-based and medically relevant.
Our mood analysis model is a trained multi-labeled deep learning system that analyzes journal entries of eating disorder patients. It detects 34 medically grounded emotion and behavior categories, such as guilt, pride, restricting, and coping, to give a detailed picture of mental and emotional health over time. These results feed into our LLM, which create accurate sentiment-aware reports to support trend analysis, connection, and communication. The model utilizes transformer-based architecture, specifically distilled but fine-tuned for the task of multi-label classification, classifying complex emotional and behavioral states from textual data, helping doctors identify potential issues early without intrusive monitoring.
And we understand that other platforms are on the market, but while other tools might target eating disorder support, they tend to be individual facing. Nourisync is unique in that it focuses on collaboration and caregiver empowerment, a space that's underserved. After all, we are called Nourisync for a reason, syncing everyone's perspective into one recovery journey.
We've prioritized ethical care from the start. Our goal to build trust, protect privacy, and ensure access. For patients, we focused on tools to support recovery at their own pace, like progress tracking and motivation. For caregivers, our design prioritizes emotional support and flexibility. And for doctors, we ensure AI is explainable, non-coercive, and easy to integrate. Looking ahead, we're exploring optional peer support and deeper journaling tools with built-in positive feedback to encourage reflection and growth. We're also building alert systems and a secure dashboard to monitor patient progress. And overall, we aim for global accessibility with multilingual support and EHR integrations to meet people where they are. Here are some of our credible sources and institutions. With Nourisync, we're not just building an app, we're building a bridge between hospital and home, between pain and progress, between every hand that helps and every soul that's healing. We're here to make recovery connected, compassionate, and courageous. Thank you, and we'd love to hear your questions.
This was a really impactful presentation.
Thank you.
I might have missed this, but do you also track personal behaviors like weight and calories and things like that?
This is optional for the caregiver to decide when working with a doctor. So
Okay.
we aim for in the future for a doctor to help caregivers set up the app and decide what is best depending on the patient's needs.
To add on to that as well, right now in our current prototype implementation, in the caregiver form, we have an option where the caregiver can submit the current eating habits of the patient along with an included calorie number if along with current information on the patient's eating plan from the doctor, so the model can compare what the current patient's eating habits are compared to what is expected in the plan. So that feature is currently implemented, but like my teammate Makayla just said, we are working towards stronger connection and uh, more integration with the doctor and clinician to have that set up while the patient and caregiver's account is being set up.
This is such an important topic, and I think you all did it like great justice. So I know you mentioned a lot about privacy and keeping these notes and doctor and patient notes private. Can you talk a bit more about how that system's set up in the back end and how you ensure like none of that data is ever like shared with another AI company or is hackable?
Of course, I could start off with this. So I know on the front end portion, most all the data that we are collecting or is with the consent of everyone involved. So as the patient, the caregiver, and also the doctor. So no data will be collected without their consent or without their knowledge. However, I do know my teammates who work more on the back end can definitely add on top of that. So we'll leave room for them to answer.
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Jay?
so a little bit more about the data. All of the data is stored locally on the device, and the responses that are being put into the system are actually not being saved. Pretty much, we don't want any sort of leakage between the responses. So all the data is stored exactly like on the device, and when you click export log, our LLM takes in all the daily logs from like the past week and then compiles them into one big report for the doctor. So the caregiver and the patient's reports are not actually sent to the doctor, just the results of the analysis of their reports that our LLM has already did, because we want to ensure anonymity, anonymity the whole way and make sure that everyone's privacy is kept their own.
Additionally, with the concern of kind of handing off your private data to another company, another AI service. We're not using something like a ChatGPT or OpenAI API call. So we're not going to OpenAI servers. We're not going to ChatGPT for this. The model we've implemented is an open source model and is hosted on our own servers. So when you interact with the model, everything is open source. The model is open and transparent. So there's no data being sent to any third party there.